All right, team, welcome back. I swear one of these days I'm gonna lose it. I just recorded the first 5 or so minutes of this video and then realized that the audio wasn't recording. I love doing things over and over again. Anyway, um, so what are we doing today? We're gonna talk about metronome again, specifically how it relates to split ability. That's a sexy topic that people want to be good at. They want to split the gun fast, right? They want to make sure that their shooting happens very quickly. So the distance between shots, the time between shots, is very important. I think it should be managed based on visual cues. However, if your visual cues allow you to shoot sooner, like the splits should be very, very quick and close together, but you don't have the ability to do that, then it's really hard to do, right? And what happens then is that you see this close target and you're like, okay, I want to shoot fast, right? And then you start trying to do something with your trigger finger that you maybe have not done before. And so all the tension comes in. You either start pushing into the gun with a bunch of input, or your trigger finger gets all frozen up and all that stuff. So with the metronome, you can actually define and learn what it sounds like to do different splits. The metronome kind of dictates dividing, time. What it sounds like to do a 50 split, a 25 split, a whatever, 16, 15, 12, whatever. You can do as much math as you want to with the metronome and kind of dial in more or less what it is that you're trying to figure out. And I'm going to give you some specific numbers today that you can set up on any old metronome. There's plenty of free apps you can use, or you can buy a cheap metronome and set it up that way. That way you can practice what it sounds like to do the splits that you're trying to do. Now, in Dryfire, it's a whole lot easier to practice those splits because you don't have the distraction of the gun going off. You don't even have the grip to consider, like all the tension that comes in because you're trying to keep the gun from flying out your hands. People think that their gun's gonna fly out their hand when they start splitting very fast. So in Dryfire, we can condition ourselves to move the finger at a rate that we hear internalize, right? If I can internalize what it sounds like to split 25s, right? Whatever that is, if I can internalize that, then I can do it without so much tension, because tension comes from like a thought that something is very difficult or maybe unachievable. Does that make sense? If I'm like picking up my phone and sending a text, there's no tension. I know I can pick up my phone and send a text, no problem. But if somebody said, hey man, like you gotta do this very complex thing, like I'm gonna have some anxiety, some tension or surrounding with it, which is not gonna make it very effortless. Does that make sense? So what does a metronome do to help us, right? So I can set up a metronome, let's say something that everybody might know. If you have ever done any music whatsoever, like you've heard, at the very least, you have heard a march, like bum 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 bum, that kind of thing, or like a very straight starts making a bum 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 bum, like that tempo, that sound of the march is more or less 120 beats per minute. Why is that important? Because that's exactly 50 splits. Think about a far target, right? Boom, 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 boom. Those are 50 splits. Bum, 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 right? So having some music in you is going to help you kind of figure out what those tempos are, I guess. But it's not really like what helps me, right? It's not the reason I can do the fast splits. It's not because I know what a march tempo is. I'm just giving you a point of reference so you can kind of figure out, okay, that's about a 50 split. So mark this down, 120, right? If you do 120 splits, or 120 on the metronome is about two shots for every second that it happens, right? Because if we were 60 beats per minute, it would be one beat, one sound per minute, which is 60 seconds, 60 beats, right? If you double that, now you have 120 beats per minute, which means you're dividing each second in half, which gives you a half a second. So guess what happens when you go to 240? Aha, 25 splits, right? Because now you're dividing it in quarters, right? So 25 splits. I mean, in my brain, 25 splits sound very, very leisurely because I have been in that place where I can shoot 25 splits out to like a significant distance and I can transition the gun in about a 25 or whatever. If you've never done that, if you've never listened to that sound, if you've never conditioned yourself to, and I've done a video about transitioning with the metronome and stuff, so maybe you go back to that. Now that you have the spreadsheet, it should be easy to search. But even just pulling out a gun, and I'm gonna do that right now. Okay, hopefully, so internalize that real quick. I'll leave it on, I don't know if you'll hear it. Right, it'll get faint. So if I just go into target and just do a build drill in 25 splits, ready to go. It's almost like I have to throttle down because it feels so comfortable. And I can learn to stay connected to the shoe of the trigger, right? I can get that good technique. I can stay connected to the shoe of the trigger. I can then focus on my trigger finger isolation, not moving these other fingers as I am pressing, not getting overly tense, right? And I can do that for a while, right? So I can do these build drills. Right, so now I can transition the gun inside that 2-5 split, if you will. I can transition the gun, I can start shooting based on that sound. Now, I am not telling you that the sound of a metronome is your permission to shoot. This is merely a practice method so that I can get very comfortable with how splits can and should sound if I am trying to achieve a certain thing. Now, if your visual does not give you the green light, like if you don't have a confirmation level that makes sense for what you're about to do with your trigger finger, it's a no-go. So this is not some kind of like a engagement sequence or engagement permission. This is just merely practicing a skill, right? So if 120 is bang, 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 bang. Now we're at 25 splits. You can then imagine if I added another 120, so now we're at 360. I think the math is like, I think it was 0.165. So it's between 16 splits and 17 splits. Which now, I mean, you're going to start getting some tension because like you're trying to move this finger very, very aggressively. But I am telling you, if you start being okay with just hearing that, like if I can just internalize that and not let it stress me out, freak me out, the whole thing, I will then be able to move my finger that quickly over a period of time. So 16, this is about 16 and a half splits, so almost 17. So I'm gonna get the grip that I want, get that nice pressure on the gun. And you can do short bursts, you can do 6. Which is way more achievable than 16 or 20 shots, right? So just do like maybe 2. Pop up, 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 pop up. Now, if I can figure out how that sounds, what that feels like to move the finger, to keep it connected to the shoe, to have that short travel, all the good stuff that you know you're supposed to have in good trigger pulls when you're trying to go at speed, right? If I can internalize that and be okay with that because over a period of months, weeks, whatever, how long it takes you to figure that out, if I can figure that out at home, then I can start practicing it with the additional stresses and whatever, like the gun's going off and I'm trying to keep it on the target, I'm trying to get some accuracy, like all that stuff. But I'll be real honest with you. When I started shooting, when I was trying to figure out how to shorten my split times, I didn't use the target. I used the berm. I went at a safe distance from a berm, like don't get real close. You don't need to be. Shoot towards the berm. You don't even have to have a very specific place to look at. Just don't miss the berm. Like do not stare at your dot. In fact, you can turn that off. Don't look at your dot. You don't need to look at your sights. Look somewhere on the berm. Keep the gun on the berm and pop, 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 pop. It is expensive. I'm not gonna lie. It's gonna be real expensive to like figure out these splits in live fire. That's why you should be doing a whole bunch of this in dry fire, and then you can go load a couple of magazines and go try it and see if that made any progress. And then look at the timer. Go set the timer. Okay, I get them. It goes beep. So I'm ready. Oh, what happened? Turned off. right? It goes beep. Now forget it. Like you don't have to start when it says beep, but now it's recording, right? So if I go pa 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 pa, then it's gonna be able to tell me, hey, you got a 17 split, a 16 split, an 18 split, a 15 split, somewhere in there. You're in the neighborhood of pa 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 pa. Now, as you hear me say it, and as you hear it more and more frequently, right? If you let this play over and over again, it's going to become more achievable in your brain. Like I can go ta 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 ta. I can do that. That's only because you've internalized what the timing of that is, and then you're not stressed out because you're like, 16 split, that's crazy. I can't do a 16 split. Well, you're right. If that's what you say, you're absolutely right. If you say you can do it, you're also right. Right? So, but if somebody just said, hey man, just shoot a bunch of 16 splits, what would happen to your body? Trigger freeze and all the tension, all the craziness, be almost impossible. Okay, here's the last one I'll give you. So 120, that's your half a second split, your 50 splits. Then 240 was 25 splits. Everybody should be able to do that. And then 360 is your like 16, 17 split, somewhere in there. Even if you're like breaking 18 splits, after training this for a while, you go to the range and you go a hair slower than 360 and you get maybe 18 splits. Great. What if those became leisurely? They can be, I promise you. And then 480. 480 I think was like, I wrote it down somewhere. 12, between 12 and 13, I think it's 12 and a half splits or something like that. That's what it sounds like. Now, where's the tempo? Can I do 12 splits? Yes. Can I do 8 12 splits in a row? Not yet, right? So tension somewhere between the first one and the last one comes in and starts taking over, whatever. So if I was really interested, which is for me, this is not the low-hanging fruit. There's other low-hanging fruit. There's other things I want to work on. I am not searching for a magazine of 12 splits. That is not what I'm interested in. That is not that important to me. Do I have 12, 13s, and 14s? Yeah, I mean, I do it at a match. I'll do it in a class. I'll do those. But I don't on purpose think about, I'm going to do 12 splits. I'm like, hey, man, that confirmation level is real low. I can stay connected to the shoe and just, let it go. If I can let it go and stay somewhat relaxed enough, then I can make it happen. But if like right now, I'm about to do this 480 here. I'm probably going to do like 2, 3, 4 trigger pulls before the gun starts moving and the tension comes in. So I'll just do doubles, for example. I'm telling you, at some point, like I can hear it, I can internalize it, and some of them I can tell are like that fast, and then some of them just start to feel a little bit lax. So what would a build drill like that sound like if I didn't have the gun, right? If I don't have the gun exploding, whatever, it'd probably be like 12, 14, 13, 15, 12, something like that, right? Like it's going to move in the general area of the timing that you have been practicing. So 120, half a second, 240, 25 splits, 360, about 17 or 18 split, no, 16 or 17 split, something like that. And then if you go to that 480, you're going to start getting like that 12, 13 split area, right? You don't have to be precise, but if you start internalizing and hearing and know what it sounds like to be able to do that, and you start doing some of that trigger work, still with a solid grip, relax those 3 fingers, just keep them on the gun correctly, and just and then you start internalizing that, I promise you, it will come a lot sooner than just like hoping that one day you'll just connect. I don't want to be lucky, I want to be good. This is one way to get there. All right, guys, you know how it goes. You got to get after it.